Hey everyone, is Debbie, and I'm back from 7 days hiking in Park City. If you've been to Park City area ever in the summer, it's pretty amazing, and I'm sure great, or even better than great in the wintertime for those skiers. I love skiing, but I really love more summertime in the mountains and hiking. It was so wonderful just to wake up when you wake up, which to me, sleeping in is 6:30 a.m., and get up, have my coffee, try to eat little something, and head out to the mountains. We were in Old Town, Park City, and just could walk up 3 blocks up some stairs to the trailhead, Treasure Hill, and got connected towards Deer Valley or the other direction towards canyons. And we went 4 miles the first day, but every day we did like 4 hours of hiking. We could not trail run because Neil, my husband, had a little heel pain of plantar fasciitis he's been battling, so we did not run. So we did walk. So everything took a lot longer, but it was still enjoyable. As I say all the time, life is not a race; it is a journey, and enjoy it. Enjoy the day, enjoy the moment, enjoy the ride. And the best part, I thought, was on the Friday, we finally got towards canyons. It was a really long hike. It ended up being 13 miles. Walking 2 miles an hour takes a long time. But we got to the top of the chair and it was closed because thunderstorms are coming in, lightning. So the chair was closed, and we got to go down to canyons in an ATV with what do you call it? Ski patrol. For the summer would be summer patrol. I don't know, search and rescue. And they were taking us down. So the three of us, Neil and his brother, and I got to go down in ATV. So it was our free ride and kind of an adventure ride. Anyways, I am back and enjoying the transition from the mountains towards beach now. And I also wanted to say I got my Garmin back. I haven't had it for 2 months. And to have my heart rate working with the chest strap, I don't trust the ones with just reading my heart rate on the back of the watch. And I have Aura, but not having my watch for 2 months with wearing my chest strap, I haven't been able to see where I am, which is great. But sometimes it's nice, as this morning went for an hour bike ride and really looking at heart rate when I do an hour ride that we're doing hills. And as I keep talking about, people that are doing interval training aren't quite doing it right. And you want to get the heart rate up high enough and then low enough. And women, we do better at my age doing sprint interval training, 10 to 30 seconds all out. And then 1, 2 minutes at least to 4 minutes of zone one. And when you're doing hill climbing, you go up, you always you get to go down. And so your recovery is coming down the hill. And then we have another hill. So I, this morning, got to wear my Garmin with my heart rate and seeing where I could get to on the top of the hill. Riding my bike was about 165. And then coming down, I could see my recovery. And then that was our Mount Israel. Then we come down by Lake Hodges, and we go up from Lake Hodges, another hill I can hit 160, 165 if I'm really pushing it. And then there's recovery going up. And then there's another hill to our neighborhood called Eucalyptus Street. And so I could do some shorter intervals up there, some hills with side streets that we can do more of a 20, 30-second sprint. I find it's beneficial to see a real heart rate monitor time when you're doing sprints. It doesn't catch up for until you're done. So you just know that when I'm doing a sprint, just go hard as you can. And then you'll see it kind of pop up on your watch what your heart rate was. And then I think it's more important for people to track their recovery wearing a heart rate strap to know, am I going down low enough? Because most people end up kind of just doing zone 3 training, maybe top of 3, bottom of 4, and they don't fully recover. So if you're doing sprint interval training, it's zone 4 down to zone 1. I've done many videos on this. If you're doing sprint interval training, a little longer, so the 10 to 30, 45 seconds max intervals, that's going to be bottom of zone 5 to top of zone 5. hitting your highest heart rate and then a long recovery in zone one. So not just hitting zone one for 5 seconds, but you're staying in zone one for, say, 2 minutes. That is important. So wearing a heart rate strap, so you're doing intervals right. Now, why do we need to do interval training? Why do we need to do training in different heart rates and how to recover and wearing a heart rate monitor? I wrote some blogs that I will share here on my website, wpotts.net. I wrote my story, kind of summarized here what I do and why we want to adjust how we train as we age. And as a nutritional therapy practitioner and a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner called FDN practitioner, plus I do Pinoy metabolic testing. I own the equipment to help people figure out personalized program for fat loss, performance gain, longevity, and using the holistic method so we can figure out what is your best nutrition plan for you, your best exercise program for you, and that will vary throughout the month for some females and throughout the year. We want to mix it up. Now, movement throughout the day, we know getting our steps in, but then there's also stress management, sleep hygiene, and gut health and all that. Now on the screen, I'm showing what I do with metabolic testing as I have one today with a new client. Resting metabolic rate, we can determine how efficient are you burning fat at rest, and carbohydrates are going to be when we're doing our exercise test should pop up when we're doing that interval training I was just talking about. So we're measuring all these different markers. When I do a Pinoy test, we get a big report back, and then we create a plan based on these results and ideally correlate the data with your blood chemistry, a GI test, your Dutch hormone test, or what other ones we need. Food sensitivities is great too. Now, the exercise test, we'll be able to see what is your efficiency, what is your zone two, where you're burning most fat, where is your metabolic crossover point, how I keep hearing this. I just heard this yesterday on a top podcast. It's not about lactic acid creating fatigue. It's that fuel source switching and lactate shuttling. We're using lactate as a fuel. It's not creating that burn that we talked about in the past, but really looking at how to get the information we need from the test, figure out what is your workout program, how are you using different fuel sources as fat, carbohydrates, lactate, creatine phosphate, the different energy systems. And so doing a Pinoy metabolic test with me or somebody else really helps create a personalized program for you now and your future self. And look at, are you burning fat? We also can use Lumen day-to-day testing, as I've talked about in other episodes. Now, the training zones, we want to figure out how much resistance training do you need? How much cardio training? How much interval training? And we're finding in the Pinoy test your peak VO2. Not everyone's going to want to get to VO2 max. So I look at it more as your peak and then retest every 3 months. The VO2 max testing, or it's called VT2, is your anabolic threshold. There's VO2 max during, or VT2 is ventilatory threshold 2, is where during a VO2 max testing, your body switches your fuel source, fat, to more glycolysis. And then there's VT1, ventilatory threshold, can be help identified as well, looking at a different point where ventilation increases faster than oxygen uptake. So we have these 5 zones that we use and identify in the metabolic test. 5 zones. You want to look at different fuel source. I've shared on my other presentations on my YouTube channel. So you can read through this as a blog. And then we create a program for you based on this information and with other labs. Now, if we're doing the sprint training, I just went over my example this morning, doing 10 to 30 seconds. We want to have recovery time more than that. So it's that 1-to-2 ratio versus a 1 to 4 minute interval training in zone 4. That's more 1-to-1 ratio. So you'll hear a lot of people doing this VO2 max workout as a 4x4, doing 4 minutes in zone 4, then 4 minutes in zone 1, which is why I really strongly suggest people use a real chest strap when they're doing that type of workout, because I find when I track people's data, they're not really ever in zone 1 long enough to fully recover so they can go just as hard again. And so they're not doing intervals, they're rather just doing a tempo workout in zone 3. So this is all information I figure out what someone should do based on PNOE testing. Now, how should we incorporate nutrition as we age? I wrote a blog on anabolic resistance and really looking at what nutrient dense foods we want to get in and how we can figure that out with my personalized coaching program as an FDN practitioner. We're also running the functional labs. We'll talk about how to identify your external sources of chronic stress and your internal sources of chronic stress. We identify using functional lab tests. Now, the importance of protein we keep talking about. If we want to improve the aging process, if we want to avoid this stereotype or myth or whatever you want to call it, that we get fatter as we get older because our metabolism gets slower. It is not blaming, oh, I'm getting older, my metabolism's slower, so I'm fat or more fat, but rather I want you to think that, oh, wait, I need to adjust how I train and how I fuel as I age with my hormones changing for men and women, and also identifying this stereotype of metabolic slowdown is an excuse. It's that we have the ability, we have the choice to improve our metabolism by prioritizing protein and lifting weights. And really, when I do the PNOE resting metabolic rate, if your metabolism, RMR, resting metabolism rate, is slower than it should be for your height, weight, age, gender, we want to look at how to improve it. And that is really getting your protein in. So we're talking a lot about that. It's really getting off the cardio machines and doing 45 minutes on the elliptical and spending 45 minutes doing strength training and complex movements that actually get your heart rate up. And maybe you're finishing that workout with some 20-second sprints for 5 minutes, right? So it's how we train, how we fuel, and how we prioritize our lifestyle habits day to day to improve our quality of life and improve the aging process so we're thriving as we age, not struggling. All right, so we have the weight gain and body composition we hear about. We have muscle loss and fat gain as we age because of anabolic resistance. Anabolic resistance leads to a reduced ability to build muscle, reduced ability to maintain muscle mass, sarcopenia, which can shift body composition and shift towards increase in fat mass. So we are talking about anabolic resistance on this blog page you can read. Now, as muscle mass decreases, basal metabolic rate, BMR, drops, leading to potential weight gain even if your calorie intake remains stable. Now, if you've listened to my story, I gained 30 pounds in March to June in 2013 when I was in the best shape of my life. I just did the best Ironman season of my career, did not change anything, but I gained 30 pounds. It wasn't my nutrition. It was not my exercise. It was my hormones from chronic stress and probably eating too little and not focus on protein back then. We were all strict keto and fasted workouts and just doing tons of fat, not protein. I was competing top age group in Ironman, doing marathons, 50K trail runs, and doing endurance cycling events. I was 42 years old at the time. 10 years later, I am now understanding it's the role of the hormones and our other marker here, insulin sensitivity. Reduced muscle mass and quality of muscle can decrease insulin sensitivity. So you hear about that muscle suitcase size. We have more collection or storage of glycogen is one part of it, but also the more we can get more muscle and improve muscle quality, we can avoid risk of fat accumulation as visceral fat, which linked to metabolic disorders. Now, metabolism, we're talking about when we do your RMR test. I do metabolism testing with the PNOE equipment. That's a mask on your face. We're measuring oxygen consumption in and carbon dioxide out. The ratio of the two, I've told you, is called respiratory exchange ratio. That ratio is 0.70 is showing us you're burning 100% fat. If the ratio is 1.0 or higher on that RER, you're burning carbohydrates 100%. When we're doing the metabolism test at rest, you should be burning primarily fat. So we can identify that as well as how many calories you're burning at rest. And then we figure out the thermic effects of food and activity, movement throughout the day, TDEE, and then your exercise. So we have anabolic resistance as we age. That contributes to natural slowdown of metabolism with the age because muscle is a metabolically active tissue. So losing muscle mass results in fewer calories burned at rest. This decline in metabolic rate can make it more challenging to manage your weight and maintain a healthy body composition. Reduce energy efficiency, so become inefficient in muscle protein synthesis due to anabolic resistance, which means your body, listen to this, your body needs more protein and the certain type of exercise to stimulus the muscle protein synthesis. We need to maintain that muscle or build muscle and avoid that muscle sarcopenia loss. This loss of muscle leads to a more loss of energy. It's more active tissue. More muscle we have a higher metabolism. So we need to switch that, right? What do you do about slower metabolism? Natural slowdown metabolism with age. Yes, but we can control that. It doesn't have to be that way. It is a choice. And this is why I keep saying, don't blame the aging process. Embrace it. Don't try the same method you did at 30 than you do at age 50. Age 45, my body changed starting age 42 with my what we'll call metabolic chaos. So we want to improve our muscle health to improve our metabolism. More lean tissue and you have a higher metabolism. All right, how does the mitochondria play a role in this? As we age, with anabolic resistance is accompanied by a decline in our mitochondria function. Remember, mitochondria are the energy powerhouses of our cell. They play a role in maintaining metabolic health and energy levels. Impaired mitochondria function can lead to decreased energy production. So think mitochondria are powerhouses, which means they're creating the ATP. They're the energy factories in our cells. If we have less mitochondria or more damaged mitochondria that aren't working at optimal levels, that would result in less energy being produced, increase in oxidative stress, increase in inflammation, and therefore speeding up the aging process. Poor mitochondria function can impair muscle endurance, our recovery, overall performance, and just makes the effects of anabolic resistance worse and accelerating muscle degradation. What do we do about that? We can work on mitochondria, on how we exercise, how we fuel, and also supplementation where needed that we can't get enough of, as with what I want to order, MitoPure. Now, athletic performance, if you're an athlete, endurance athlete as myself, or you're doing more strength and trying to do fast twitch muscle fiber workouts that I am trying to do, we have another battle of anabolic resistance is hindering our body's ability to respond to strength training and build muscle. So we have to do even more than others, younger than us, to get the same response. So we have a slower gains in strength and power, making it harder for aging athletes to maintain or improve their performance. Aging athletes experience slower recovery due to diminished muscle protein synthesis, MPS. Not only does this affect our performance as aging athletes, but increases our risk of injury and overtraining. So really, what are the solutions? Right? Change how you train. Less cardio, more strength, and then shorter workouts. 2 days a week, adding in those sprint 10 to 30 seconds all out, or 3 days a week. If you're trying to do those sprint interval trainings every day, you're not doing sprint interval training because you're not giving your body time to recover and repair. So maybe you're doing easy days, zone 1, zone 2, 2 days in a row, then you got a hard one in there. You need time to recover and repair in between. With our reduction in muscle mass and strength that we hear happens as we age, our body becomes more susceptible to metabolic issues as insulin resistance. And that's why I stress to all my clients and on my platform here, get your insulin tested. It costs, say, $20. Your doctor probably won't do it unless you already have diabetes. Getting insulin resistance tested twice a year is preventative to getting type 2 diabetes. Your insulin levels will be high for years before it shows up as type 2 diabetes. Don't just look at your fasted glucose level and your A1C and your blood labs. We want to see insulin as well as some other markers. We want to look at your CRP and your triglycerides and other ones we'll talk about later, ApoB and Lp(a). Now, muscle tissue, as I said, is like that suitcase. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon talks about larger suitcase, the better, because it's a key site for glucose disposal. Losing muscle mass reduces the body's capacity to handle blood sugar effectively. So that's the great analogy of a small suitcase, my carry-on bag, versus my supersized suitcase if I'm going for a longer trip, except for Europe. That's a bad idea to take a big suitcase to Europe because you can't get it on the trains and up and down the stairs. So taking that large size is what you want to have more glucose disposal. Doesn't mean you get to eat all the carbs you want. So don't think, oh, I can eat whatever I want because I have larger muscles. You may be able to get away with it, but remember, we have that uphill battle to improve our muscle protein synthesis and our body composition. So that is a great solution to improve muscle health. We want to get our body fat tested, but really look at what is my lean body mass, not just my fat mass. In women during menopause, which is, remember, 1 day. So perimenopause is all the way up to that 1 day in time that you haven't had for females, your period, you haven't had your menstrual cycle for 12 months. Someone decided this, that 12 months without a cycle, you're officially in menopause. You have 1 day, big party, celebrate. I'm in menopause. It's reverse puberty, right? So it's opposite of puberty, teenager now, reverse puberty, and then you're in postmenopause. It's really funny to me. So anabolic resistance is amplified for us aging females due to decline in estrogen. That's why there's such big information on hormone replacements, taking estrogen and progesterone to balance your hormones to avoid that deep decline. Because low estrogen impacts metabolic health, leading to weight gain, fat distribution, and increased risk for chronic diseases, as well as bone health and muscle health. So, what do you do? What are some strategies? Number one, optimize protein intake. And I've been trying to share pictures on my Instagram stories of here's my focus, trying to get more protein in per meal. Go to Costco, get that tri-tip, get that grass-fed burger patties. It's easy to do and doesn't have to be expensive. Yes, I'd love to have a steak every day, but I also look at my genetics. I can't do a ton of saturated fat, even though some people say that doesn't matter, but I do feel better with more rotation of meats. I'm not 100% carnivore. I'm just trying to hit my protein in per meal. Now, yesterday I had 2 burgers, those Wagyu burger grass-fed patties at Costco, and then some pickles, and then I make a little sauce. We have the Primal Kitchen ketchup, and I have some mustard, and I have the avocado oil mayonnaise and mix it together. So you can do something like that if you're not strict carnivore, or just put butter and sea salt is my other solution. I did that in my tri-tip this morning. So optimizing protein intake. And I just did an episode on this, plant-based versus animal-based is really challenging to get that muscle protein synthesis amino acid profile with enough leucine to hit your goal to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So to combat this anabolic resistance we get as we age, we need to get high quality protein, nutrient dense with the right essential amino profile, say 50 grams, and getting in that 50 grams all the essential amino acids with special attention to the leucine amino acid. They all need to be there. You can't just take leucine, but leucine of about, say, 2.7 to 3 grams in that profile to hit or stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Then consistent resistance training, 2 to 4 days a week. Strength training, focus on progressive overload. So don't just start lifting heavy, few months, build that foundation. And we can go over that in a personal training session on Zoom, but it is really the right type of strength training. Focus on building that base, same as if you're running a marathon. Don't just build up to running long distance. You need to build your zone 2, build your joints up, and get a base before you start doing a ton of speed work. So mitochondria support engaging in activities, enhancing mitochondrial function is interval training. Adequate recovery, remember, adequate recovery strategies. This can all support energy production. Healthy mitochondria, remember, create ATP, which are sources of energy. And the more fat you're burning for fuel creates more ATP and getting your body metabolically healthy. For women, addressing your hormone changes through lifestyle, nutrition. Some people, as I said, are really big on hormone replacement therapy. I'm trying to find a new doctor to get some estrogen. I've been using estrogen eye cream, but we're going to talk to a hormone specialist in the next few weeks, and they have estrogen face cream. And transdermal, I think, is best. And progesterone, I like DHEA from Quicksilver. You can get on my full script account, and there's options, but you want to test and monitor your hormones when you start supplementing so you're not imbalanced, having estrogen dominance. Now, we need to understand there's a wide range of effects of anabolic resistance as we age. Taking proactive measures to help maintain your metabolic health, athletic performance, and overall vitality as we age is my focus here. And this is what I'm really working on my clientele to do. Now, key points on anabolic resistance for females. Let's go over this. Blunted muscle protein synthesis. As we age, the body responds to protein and exercise. Our response is lower, it's diminished. This can lead to reduced muscle protein synthesis. This can result in gradual loss of muscle mass and strength. So sarcopenia is loss of muscle mass, which is critical in postmenopausal women due to our lower estrogen. Solution: exercise the right way. Higher protein requirements. Older adults, especially females, as we age, I don't say I'm older adult, as we age, we need more dietary protein to stimulate the same level of muscle protein synthesis that younger individuals achieve with lower amounts. So again, at age 50, I can't eat the same amount of protein expect the same results when I was 30. I require more protein today at age 52 than when I was 42, right? I can tell because I can eat a lot of protein. We had a big old steak the other night in Park City, and I didn't eat it all, but it was, I think, must have been over 12 ounces. It is huge. But I eat till fullness. I eat slowly, chew my food, take digest enzymes to help break it down. And I was really full. And I can tell the difference that I just need protein. My body just craves it more, especially I'm lifting weights and I'm doing more strength-based workouts. Now, eating more protein, focus on your strength training to counter the anabolic resistance. So we want to target strength training in your program each week, men and women, to enhance your body's responsiveness to dietary protein to promote muscle maintenance and growth. This is more important for women in perimenopause and postmenopause. Remember, menopause is one day you get to have a party, as they experience a decline in muscle mass and bone density. Now, wouldn't that be funny if we just had a calendar when you stop getting your cycle and track it, and then you have one day like, oh, it's been exactly 12 months. Oh, today I'm in menopause. Let's have a party and celebrate my reverse puberty. I wonder if people do that. I think we should start doing that. It just cracks me up. It's just menopause we hear our whole life, and then we realize, oh, that's it. It's just one day. Now, we want to work on that decline in estrogen for women. Sorry, it's getting hot in here. I got sweat dripping on my face. The decline in estrogen during menopause exacerbates anabolic resistance. This leads to risk of muscle loss and bone density and metabolic changes. So this is where you want to work with a doctor, as we'll talk to Karen Martell, and I'll find some other doctors want to come on the show to talk about hormones and should you supplement with estrogen and progesterone, DHA, testosterone. So, how much protein do you need? I always go by Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. It's very simple to me. 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight. Now, athletes, we need that or a little bit even more. At least 100 grams a day for women and men. I think everyone at least 100, and that's hard for people. If you don't plan ahead your meals, have food available in your fridge and freezer ready to go, easy to cook. Don't use a microwave. Don't let your meat or have stuff cooked and eat it 3 days later because it's not healthy. It's going to be high histamine. So don't have all this food that you're eating all week long. It does decline in quality. And aim for 40 to 60 grams due to that increased anabolic resistance. I bet a lot of you are not doing that. I'm focused on that, especially today, back from my trip. We're just focusing on protein and make sure we have everything on hand. I think going to Costco and just getting a ton of stuff. I don't want to eat factory farm animals. I think that's disgusting. But if I can't afford a steak, we decided, well, maybe we're going to have to do just regular steak, not always afford the good quality grass-fed steak as I wish if we're on a budget. So you have to get the ground beef that's grass-fed, is less expensive. Seafood, getting wild-caught salmon is great at Costco. Just don't get farm-raised or factory farm animals when you control. Especially don't get farm-raised seafood. Gross. Now, higher protein, 1 to 6 grams of protein per kilogram body weight is this one formula from this article. Focus on high quality, rich in leucine. Post exercises where women, we are told, based on research, even more protein. So when you're younger, we could do 20 to 35 grams of protein. But when we are closer, post-menopause, double that, 40 to 60 grams, because before you can get that 20 gram of protein, now to get that same response, you need 40 grams. Really important, ladies. And it's not one egg. Give me a break. That egg is 6 grams of protein. Have a palm size or larger, 6 ounces or more of animal protein. If you're plant-based, you have to really work your calculations to get the right leucine amino acid to stimulate MPS. Resistance training. Again, stop doing all the cardio machines, change how you train. Let's work on that. Protein timing throughout the day. Dosing it is a lot of research now. Sometimes say it doesn't matter, but I can't eat a ton. It's just going to sit there. So let's do 3 meals a day and stop doing our OMAD we were doing. And intermittent fasting, we want just to avoid as athletes and just do 12 hours. Should be not called fasting. That should be called normal digestive rest, right? You don't need to do 16-hour fast every day when you're exercising. That's for people metabolically unhealthy that have a lot of issues to work on. And so if you're an active individual, an athlete and female athlete, we need to just limit not eating after dinner to breakfast 12 hours to maybe 15 hours max. All right. So anabolic resistance again, females, because why? That lower estrogen. The impacts of progesterone. Progesterone is catabolic, which means breakdown. Estrogen is more related to maintaining muscle mass, strength, and function. It supports muscle protein synthesis, reduces inflammation, aids in muscle recovery. So lower levels of estrogen, as I have, we don't have the benefits of estrogen. They're diminished, leading to increased anabolic resistance. So this is what I already talked about, but I went into on this blog. All right, yes, but explain to me why. How does this happen? So this is a rabbit hole on key hormonal influences on anabolic resistance in women. Go to my blog, What is Anabolic Resistance, to find this. Reduce muscle protein synthesis with lower estrogen, because this now blunts the body's response to dietary protein and resistance to exercise, making it harder to build and maintain muscle. This results in faster rate of muscle loss, sarcopenia, and changes in her body comp, increases fat. Lower estrogen impacts your recovery and repair. Estrogen has an anti-inflammatory property that aids in muscle repair. So when we have lower estrogen, we have less recovery from workouts. It's slower. This gives us increased risk of injury and contributing to muscle loss. Progesterone, I said, is more catabolic. Progesterone levels decline with age, but the imbalance between estrogen and progesterone during perimenopause can lead to muscle loss and increased anabolic resistance. How does this impact our sleep? Progesterone influences sleep and stress management. So if you're taking any hormones as estrogen and progesterone, progesterone is only the second half of your cycle that you take it. You don't take it every day, I've heard, but you take it at nighttime. That will help your sleep. Now, progesterone can relate to poor sleep and heightened stress, and that can be connected to anabolic resistance, muscle degradation. Testosterone, we have lower levels in men, but we still need testosterone as women for muscle mass and strength, and men, of course, need increase their testosterone by lifting weights, but lower testosterone reduces their capacity for muscle protein synthesis and anabolic resistance. Lower levels of androgens, including testosterone, contribute to reduced strength, power, muscle. Anyway, so go in to read all this. Again, higher protein, target resistance training, look at getting hormone replacement for women, optimize recovery, your adequate sleep, your sleep hygiene routine, your stress management, recovery strategies. As I'm doing sauna, my sunlight and sauna in the evening, and doing 10 or so minutes of some stretching on the mat, not doing power yoga before bed, but more restorative yoga, focusing on my eating, my timing of my meals, and really focus on getting to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, lifting weights. Even if you can do 2 days a week, I like that better than none. Focus on mitochondrial health, working on once a week if you're not training for a race, doing a zone 2, getting in that fat burning. I just, as I said, went hiking for a week and it was zone 1 pretty much training, and I feel like my body changed finally. I must just need a lot of long, slow walking distance, change my body comp. So more ideas. Dr. Gabrielle Lyons suggestions I copied in here, and summary, and then talk about creatine. I use Keon, or you can go get some brands on my full script if you look at my linked tree. Benefits of creatine for women and men for muscle health and brain health. I copied in here. So read all the information, dosing, why, mechanism of action, it just goes on and on. So how can I help you as an FDA practitioner? We do the functional lab testing. We work on creating a program based on data. And while we're getting our labs done, we are creating a personalized protocol. They call it at FDN, we call it DRESS, diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplementation, because we have these external stressors and internal stressors. We want to look at hormone panels, gut health, food sensitivity, maybe an organic acids test called oats, a detox liver, metabolic assessments. We want to identify what you need the most, but for sure we want to look at 3 to 5 labs together to get the whole look at it. Now, creating a protocol based on all that information, supplements as needed, and they're 60 to 90-day protocols, and then we retest, ideally 4 to 6 months. Course correct as we go. Work on coaching, empowering the client to help guide them what changes to make in their lifestyle, sleep, stress management. So it's more of a holistic approach. So let me know if you have questions and we can meet and discover how you can improve the aging process and stop blaming it. All right, head to Debbie Pottsnet to learn more and schedule a free discovery call with